Mick Rooney, investigative journalist, episode 50. This is a bit impromptu. We hadn't planned it. We had actually planned episode 50 for the end of the month, but, circumstances. Since we recorded our original timeline on the Marie Kilmartin case, we've been in contact with her daughter, Anya, once again, and would like to bring you the following update that sheds a great deal more background on the case. However, we felt the information provided stretched far beyond just a short few minutes of an update. So much that we have decided on this unplanned Radio Espial episode 50. Now, I want to state that what follows is not one of our normal case timelines and analysis. It is testimony and an account of the tireless work and research Anya has carried out into her mother's initial disappearance in 1993. The later discovery of her Marie's body at Pims Lane, bogland 6 months later. Marie Kilmartin's case is classified as a murder case by An Garda Siochana, the Irish police, and included a series of arrests between 1994 and 2008. No one has yet been charged with her murder as of 2024. Following our broadcast of the Marie Kilmartin case, Anya, her daughter, posted a very lengthy comment on the Radio Espial channel. We felt her comment and testimony on her experience and research of her mother's murder case deserved far more highlight than just a posted comment. This case was deeply troubling to us from the outset. We've been looking at this case for a number of years, and it left a great deal of questions in our mind, and I think that comes across in the timeline we did in episode 49. Not only has Anya brought some clarity to the case in the following additional information, but she has shared a considerable amount of case file documentation, audio and video footage through multiple interviews with case witnesses, but also court, medical and private files which considerably substantiate the detail in her testimony and statement to us. We have verified the documentation provided to us by Anya. We thought long and hard about the best way to progress forward. I've spent much of the past week working on the following with Anya. We opted not to do an in-camera interview for a Radio Espial episode. Anya's been through enough. This is about justice for Marie Kilmartin and the person or persons responsible for her murder in December 1993. For obvious legal reasons, there are people who cannot be named in this episode, and said verified documentation, audio and video files not shared here, which may later become part of future prosecutions. The following episode deals with very difficult subjects, so there is some viewer discretion advised. This is a personal account and testimony by one critical person in this case. This still remains an ongoing investigation into a murder. I would strongly recommend that you first view our Marie Kilmartin murder timeline episode. I'll put up a card there so you can click it and view it. I'm going to be honest, look, there's absolutely no value or context in viewing this episode without having already done that. As with many of our follow-up case updates, we are not here in this episode to walk you through the case or re-walk you through the case once again. this is a complex case. And in a wider context, it throws a spotlight on Irish society, traditions, religious morals, the effectiveness of institutional care for those suffering with mental health issues, the impact it has on a murder investigation, and how it is professionally executed, and how we view and care for those most vulnerable. In a more direct context, it examines the devastating impact of family secrets and those who hide in the shadows of silence to protect their own needs. Most of what you're about to hear from Anya, daughter of murdered Marie Kilmartin, are in her own words and has not been aired in the public media before. This is her personal account and testimony. As in our normal timeline episodes, not that this is a timeline episode, we're also going to be joined by Kieran McConnell. So let's go there now. Okay, Kieran joins us as normal. Again, I want to emphasise this is not a timeline. If you want to view the full timeline that we did a couple of weeks ago, by all means go to the card that you see here, and I think it's probably better that you do, rather than getting into this, because we're not here to explain the entire 100% of the actual case itself. I've already went through the background to why we're here literally 2 weeks later after doing a timeline, because generally our rule is we wouldn't go back to a timeline and do an update on it unless we had significantly more information about a case. Kieran, before I start, is there anything that you want to add or just
No,
say?
just before we go through the comment, just to say a few things on Anya, she actually contacted me, I think it was a few years ago, fair play to her, she's really on the ball on this one, and she really comes across really well and all them sort of things, and she's fair play to her for doing all this,
Mm-hmm.
for her mother,
Yeah,
and
she's
even the
done.
comment alone shows how much effort she's putting in.
Yeah. She's done it, and like I said, this started out as a comment, and ultimately this is what it's become now. But anyway, let's get through it. I want to emphasize again: when you hear me speak, you're not hearing me speak in my words. You're hearing Anya speak. This is Anya's testament and her experience of this case. Okay, that's what this is about. Thank you for covering my mother's case. You were right about the silence. Marie's voice was silenced. She was controlled in her childhood and adulthood, according to people who knew her. Thank you for giving my mom a voice, as no one has ever made a thorough video like this before. She was referring to
I
the
think we got
timeline we did.
Yeah, we got at this before. I think when we started the timeline, that we were saying there's never really been a
No, no,
comprehensive
no, 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 no,
documentary or write up on Marie's case.
no,
So
no,
that was
and
something. There was a lot of the crime call thing was a bit strange, and then there was a few other things that were a bit
yeah,
all over the place. So it needed to be covered thoroughly.
yeah, and like I said, that's what we do on Radio Espial. You're not going to get this in most other true crime
Well,
channels.
the place I would say that covered it most thoroughly before was Mentoria podcast. They did a
Yes,
good
yeah,
job on it, in
yeah,
fairness.
yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so just what I've read there in regarding Marie was diagnosed with manic depression in her teens after a nervous breakdown at 13 in a boarding school, the Mercy Convent in Moat, according to my birth file and a conversation with Pat Doyle. Remember, you're hearing the words of Anya, Marie Kilmartin's daughter. A source I cannot legally name told me that Marie tried to stab her father, Fred, when she was 18 years of age. Again, I want to say that we're not just taking Anya's account and her experience and her research, we have the documentation that verifies what is being said here, and I want to make that
Like
very
Mick,
clear.
you have decades of experience as being an
Yeah,
investigative
yeah,
journalist, so you know how to
yeah,
make sure stuff is
yeah,
correctly sourced and legitimate. And
yeah.
these are like there's proper like state documentation that's verified this stuff. Like so,
State, medical,
yeah,
court documentation, communications, everything, and we'll refer to it, and because I think legally it's important that we refer to it, that we have the information to back this up in what Anya is saying. Now, again, in Anya's words, the circumstances before and after my birth. There was a meeting before I was born with Marie's parents, Fred and Rosemary Kilmartin, 3 psychiatrists, 1 family friend, Liam Hanafi, 2 priests, a solicitor supposedly representing Marie, who agreed with the machine. She means the machine, the structure, the organisation, the bureaucracy she was up against. The decision was for Marie's consent to be relinquished. My understanding is that my mother Marie was not present at this meeting. And
despite
again,
being 21 years of age.
yeah, and again,
Hmm.
for verification purposes, I can assure you I have seen the documentation, the notes, and the agenda and communications of this meeting. I know the people by name who were at this meeting. I know the 2 priests. I know Liam Hanafi was at it. I know the name of the solicitor and the solicitor's firm. I know the names of these people. It's this has been verified in documentation. This was a life-changing decision taken away from a 21-year-old pregnant woman. My mother was only with me in Portlaoise Hospital for a few days, and she was sent back to the cage of St. Fintan's Mental Hospital, and I, as an infant, was sent to Temple Street Children's Hospital for a week, and then St. Joseph's Home in Stamullen, County Meath. Marie did not sign the papers to surrender me as a baby, which, as you would all imagine, was a great relief to me as her daughter to learn in later life. People blame the times in Catholic Ireland, but that's a cop-out. There were many families up and down these shores who kept their little baby. Marie would not see her father when she was pregnant, according to Marie Enright, the social worker in the file, when she was locked into St. Fintan's Hospital like an animal.
Yeah, Anya's 100% right. This can't be put down to the times. Like this is
No, no,
madness. No,
it's
it's just
not acceptable to say, oh,
no,
1950s Catholic Ireland, 1960s,
no.
1970s. This is 1993, for God's sake, people. Again, back to Anya's words. I know some of the people of Portlaoise where my mother lived, and from talking to them about my own case, I know that there were other pregnant women who were confined to the walls of St. Fintan's at that time because they too were pregnant. This has never been exposed because it does not align with any government narrative and agenda, so it is still swept under the carpet. There needs to be an independent inquiry conducted by a foreign body into all those mental hospitals and the women whose babies were robbed from them from mental hospitals. My mother was strong-willed, just as I am, and she wouldn't sign the papers to surrender me. She would not be bullied by those in St. Fintan's Hospital, so the psychiatrists overrode her will and dispensed of her consent. This was the story of Marie's life according to multiple sources and the records I have access to. A safety order was allegedly taken out in Portlaoise District Court on the 9th of May, which was referred to by the social worker Marie Enright, who worked for the Midland Health Board. This, she alleged, was the order that allowed my future adoptive mother to take me from St. Joseph's Home, Stanmullen, when I was just over a month old. Yet, I have it in writing from Portlaoise District Court that this file does not exist. A fit persons order was allegedly issued, which was never been verified as true after multiple attempts, the following month, which has a spelling error in it regarding Midlands Health Board, falsely states that I was residing in Portlaoise Hospital on June 20th, 1980, and this false information was disclosed by both Leon Hannafy, head psychiatrist of St. Fintan's and later Assistant Inspector of Mental Hospitals in the Eastern Health Board, and Marie Enright, social worker for the Midland Health Board, according to the document. Again, I've seen that document and the written communications around it. The saving grace was an obstetrician called Roger Reynolds in Portlaoise General Hospital at that time. The psychiatrist in St. Fintan's had advised in a letter to the obstetrician that Marie was very difficult and would not be capable to have a natural birth and to not let Marie see or hold her baby. That man, Roger Reynolds, gave them all the middle finger and praised Marie for beating him to it, having a forceps delivery, and she did indeed hold and feed me, her newborn baby. The kindness and love of that man will always stay in my heart. He stood up for Marie and me to those psychiatrists. Again, I have seen that document and I have seen the exchanges where Roger Reynolds describes the afterbirth and Marie Kilmartin holding Anya.
One of the few people with ethics.
Yeah,
this guy,
with a bit of fucking backbone.
Yeah, exactly.
Marie, according to a friend, got a brand new car from her father when she was 18 years old, and she did a secretarial course in Moat and drove her friends around and went to parties like a normal teenager. Another friend, who met her in Portlaoise, originally from Athlone, said that Marie couldn't drive, so I don't understand why Marie stopped driving. Now, the murder investigation file. As for the murder file, Anya says it was never sent to the Department of Public Prosecutions, the DPP, which I have in writing from the DPP. This is Anya speaking. Again, I've seen that communications and that response where the DPP state that no such Garda file was forwarded to them. Now, that was something reported in the media, Kieran, wasn't it? And consequently why we accepted, and our understanding was that at some point, be it from 1994 with the initial arrests to 2008, I think the second round of arrests, that there was some at some point some file had been sent to the DPP.
Well, you would think when they make the second arrest that there would be then a file
definitely
sent to the DPP.
The second arrest, because you think, well, hang on, we're back here again. We're back to the same place again with the same suspects. So surely there had to be some file sent to the DPP
15 years later
for at least review, whether a recommendation to push with charges and trial. But yet the DPP have communicated to Anya that no such files were sent to them. Mm-hmm. The case suspects, for legal reasons, please understand we cannot name suspects. Whether they're alive or dead at this point in time legally, we're not going to name suspects. Again, Anya's words. I met the 3 suspects and I don't believe any of them had anything to do with Marie's murder. That is Marie's opinion and we respect it. All 3 of them separately gave me their time. The prime suspect of the Gardaí, deceased since the 5th of July 2019, gave me over half an hour of his time. His stepson 25 or so minutes of his time, and the wife of the prime suspect up to half an hour from 2 separate visits.
That's a bit different from some of the other cases we've covered where, like,
Yeah.
the suspects, like, won't have anything to do with the family. Say, for instance, in the Melda Keenan case,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a bit, like, obviously, as you said, Anya is completely entitled to her own opinions, but it's hard to know what to make of that.
Yeah, well, in fairness, they're not just her opinions; they're her experience of speaking to
Oh
people
yeah,
and what was recounted
oh yeah, like
to her. Yeah,
I'm not questioning her
yeah,
opinions
yeah.
either on this one. It's just like, there's a lot in it. Like, you kind of think the fact that they're willing to talk to her and give her so much time would point towards innocence, but then
But yeah, we
people
know
do strange things.
we know of um, suspects who've denied to loved ones. I don't know what you're talking about. And I had nothing to do with that. I swear to you, and then it suddenly transpires literally to forensics. Actually, you were responsible for this, so I
Joe
still
O'Reilly.
not. And I want to say this is my personal opinion. I respect what Anya's saying, but I think there had to be still reasons why we had the 94 arrests and the same people arrested again in 2008. There had to be still reasonable reason why those arrests progressed. We can all say Gardaí didn't want to explore other avenues and they were just fixated on, let's just get someone and, sure, that this is just the way to go. I can't say that, but I'm not discounting those 3 people still having some involvement. I don't know. I honestly don't know, truly.
No, well, I suppose till the case is solved, you can't, can you
Exactly.
really?
Okay. Again, back
Yeah.
to Anya's words. I had been told by a psychiatrist's wife, one who cared for Marie, who came up to me on the day of my grandmother's funeral. I think she's referring to Rosemary, and later disclosed that she gave marriage counselling advice to the wife of the prime suspect at the time the body of my mother was found. She filled in so many blanks for me. I let the case go on, thinking that yes, indeed, these people were responsible for my mother's death. Yet, I had a niggling feeling. Last August, I went to visit the prime suspect's wife because her son had given me the location of where she lived. She denies that this woman ever gave her marriage counselling. This put me in a tailspin and it opened the entire case for me again. I couldn't visit the above said psychiatrist because his wife told me that he was sick with dementia, Alzheimer. Yet said psychiatrist was on an RTE documentary filmed later that year looking at the old records of a patient. I found this astonishing because I was denied my mother's medical records all the way up to the Information Commission. Yet, here he was disclosing another patient's records in relation to another murder. Also, this man's wife only made a statement to the Gardaí in 2021 about what the suspect's wife had said because I notified the Gardaí. She also said that Marie had confided in her that she fancied a married man down the centre, and she had allegedly replied saying, "You've enough on your plate," without getting involved with a married man. I don't even know if that conversation happened. In retrospect, she left blanks, yet I don't know if there was any truth in what she said at all. And now I wonder why she said all of it at all, and why she didn't go to the Gardaí or tell my family and friends about this in all the years since. Something doesn't add up.
It goes out to Anya on this, like the amount of stuff she has to put up with is just
An absolute minefield, an absolute
it's
minefield
so
of a
terrible.
case.
Like it's just so terrible for her, like that any person should have to go through this, and then obviously what Marie went through
Mm.
as well. Like it's just, my God.
So again, in Anya's words, so this mother, son and stepfather, in my humble opinion, were put out as suspects to cover up for the true story. I've again, in relation to the interview and meeting that Anya had with these people, I have listened to the audio of that meeting. The investigation. At least one psychiatrist and many psychiatrist nurses in St. Vincent's Hospital knew that Marie had allegedly been sexually abused as a child by at least one family member, and they covered it up for their own personal gain. They had a duty of care towards Marie. I do not know how many people were involved in the murder and cover-up, which I have spent a long time investigating in my own time. With regard to the alleged sighting of a man in a phone box by a female hitchhiker, neither of the men arrested were in their 30s. They were in their 50s and 20s at the time of Marie's murder. I think she was referring to, again, newspaper reports and inaccuracies about ages.
These cases, it's even in some of the books. Age is it's one of my pet peeves, to be honest.
Yeah,
Age is one of the most misreported things in papers and stuff. It drives me crazy, like
I get it an awful lot with how many times have we seen that a fucking paper and media organisation can't even get the fucking name, the date and age of a person right. Oh, Marie was 36. Oh no, actually she's 35. Don't state
there
it.
you go. Prime
Do not
example.
state it until you know. Don't write the article. If you can't get that basic fact right, fuck off somewhere else. Go get another job and do something else. Don't work for the media. If you can't even get that basic fact right, that's crazy stuff.
It's a pretty easy
You
thing to
can't do
remember.
numbers. You can't do birth dates in your head without knowing the birth dates.
Exactly.
If you pick a date and say 1980, 1970, unless you know the date person of that person in X date in 1990 or 2010 or 2020, you cannot accurately to the month name the age of that person. It isn't enough to just be vague and say, she was 35, she was 36. I'm not really sure. Do your work.
One of the years, as opposed to the dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. With regard, back to Anya's words, with regard to the alleged sighting of a man, it's the phone box, we went through the age, Marie's family preferred their name, money and business to truth and caring. Not one of Marie's family tried to solve Marie's murder, so I, a 13-year-old at the time of my mother's murder, was left with the responsibility from the age of 20 when my younger cousin concurred that Marie is my mother. One of Marie's brothers was on a holiday when Marie was found. Such was the dedication of the search for Marie. I was told to get on with my life and do my college exams and pretty much carry on as normal. At the time, I recollected another younger cousin asking me my date of birth on the day of the removal of my mother's body. The relevance of this is that my adopted parents changed my date of birth from the 29th of March 1980 to the 5th of April 1980. I don't know what the relevance of that was. This is me speaking. Anya continues. I found out the truth in 1992 when I was 12 and saw my baptismal cert on my principal's desk. This showed me that she knew too, and I truly was numb in ways because I just didn't know how to handle it, all of it, with no family support. Besides, put it all in a box and get on with your life. And a meeting with the Kilmartins where my adopted mother suggested my surname to be changed. I felt so hurt by the way it was all handled, and I didn't have the words to describe the hurt and betrayal until years later. I was so hurt that all my family had kept this secret from me. It was worse that it was my young cousin who told me, because it was demeaning. I felt like it didn't matter, and neither did Marie. The investigation, 1994 to 2024, a 10-year period, again, in Anya's words. Nothing really had progressed since 1994 in my mom's case, because no file had been sent to the DPP. It's a national disgrace. The head psychiatrist involved, Liam Hannafy, was a close family friend of the Kilmartins from Ballinasloe, Galway. Marie was not from County Laois, so procedures were not followed by having Marie under the care of the Midland Health Board. It seems that these people with money and power thought they were above the law and could get away with abusing Marie.
Just to say something there should be no personal relationship between psychiatrists and
Absolutely
patients,
none.
like of any
Absolutely
description,
none.
even if it's a parent, friends of your parents. It's the
No.
same for mediators and things like this. Like, and that's no modern rules that would go back a long way, because it just brings in bias. You can't psychoanalyze someone or give them correct psychological care if you
No.
know them or even know of them. That in itself is
Yeah,
it's
and
bogey from the start.
PU psychiatrist, doctor, counsellor, whatever, if you're particularly when you're giving legal medical advice or you're seeing a patient, and particularly under confidences, there's absolutely no way. The immediate is, no, I'm sorry, I can't take on that patient, or I can't make any advice, or I can't make any referrals. That's I know you, the family, too much. That's absolutely morally, it's morally, clinically, and professionally wrong of me to do that. That's it. End of story. Fred and his friend Liam and Pat Doyle had rule over Marie. Liam Hannafy and Pat Doyle were employees of St. Fintan's Mental Hospital and the Midland Health Board. According to a neighbour of Marie, Marie would confide in Pat. Pat had told me Marie had told her about her sexual abuse first when the X case was on the national TV and radio in Ireland. That it happened every Sunday after dinner, and that the first time it happened was in their house in Monksland near Athlone. I am not clear the exact location. The perpetrator allegedly told my grandmother that a doll scared Marie when she asked what was wrong with her. Pat would then tell Liam and Marie, said, who would in turn tell Fred, her father. This, I believe, is why they all needed to keep Marie medicated and quiet, and she was starting to wake up from her drug-induced stupor. The immediate period of disappearance. As for the 16th of December, this is 1993, back to Anya. As for the December 16th, 1993, there were no witnesses to say, 1, did Marie answer that phone or someone else? Did she leave the house? I doubt that a woman scared of the dark and men went to meet a man in the dark. It's common sense, Kieran.
Yeah, no, Anya makes a great point. The presumption many people would make that Marie was the person that answered that phone, but
and in that crime line reconstruction appeal in 1993, weeks after, it was constructed and presented very much. You see Marie scurrying out of her room, picking up the phone, hello, and you can't hear what's been said. It's constructed in a way that suggests that Marie answered the phone, but there's actually no evidence other than the phone was picked up for 2.5 minutes and the call ceased. That's it. No one knows whether it was Marie in the house, other than
the intruder or whatever it may be.
The two care workers who dropped her home saw her safely into the house. We know she was there around the time, but other than that, there's nothing outside of that to say who actually picked up that phone. Anya, I also do not believe Christine Dwyer, eyewitness from the following morning of December 17th, a Garda's wife. And the reasons are her high speed blinking in the clip. She seems rehearsed. The fact that no one else saw Marie the week before Christmas in Portlaoise shopping on the December the 17th, yet she appeared like an apparition that no one else saw. Such was the delusion of Catholic Ireland at the time. I also do not believe my wife's sighting. The key reasons for this are, it makes no sense to be just standing there in the car park of St. Fintan's on a cold winter's day. May also worked for the same St. Fintan's complex where not one psychiatrist or nurse enabled Marie to take a sexual abuse case against family members. They did the opposite and took advantage of the situation, having parties in Marie's house and taking advantage of a vulnerable, abused woman. Sorry, Kieran, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, number 3 there, you see it. The fact no one else saw Marie the week before Christmas in Portlaoise shopping centre on December the 17th. I think that's a credible point, right? I think because I think you made this point. Everybody, well, not everybody, but the vast majority of people that work in Portlaoise work in the hospital or the prison. You know, the town kind of centres around them things. So it's be known.
It's almost like every second person, if they don't work directly, whether they drive buses, taxis, they're cleaners,
they're living off
they're painters, electricians. They somehow coerce around all these institutions, medical units. There's such a thrive of activity connected with families and people in that area.
Well, it's a good point by Anya there. It's definitely something we're taking on board.
She's, in case, again, I would ask you, it's better that you watch the timeline, but we're referring to I'm going to reinsert the video clip shortly. We're referring to 2 eyewitnesses who claim on the December 17, 1993, between the morning, I think it was around 10ish, up till about just before noon, that Marie was sighted once at the Midlands Health Clinic, just standing in the car park, and then later at Crazy Prices further away. So that's what this is in reference to. Okay, back to Anya's words. We are being sold this story and I'm not buying it. So actually, let's take a listen to those inserts now, those eyewitness inserts. You can make your own mind up about them. Anya has questions about them, and we'll talk about those eyewitness reports when we come back after you take a look at them.
At 6 o'clock, Patricia Doyle, who shares the house with Mary, returned home from work.
I came off duty at 6 o'clock that evening, and I came home, and I came to the back door, and I thought Mary was here, and I knocked on the door, and then I remembered that she said she was going to the party in the daycare centre and she'd be late. So I came in then into the house, and the shopping that she was to get that day, she left it on the back of the chair, and she left her Christmas presents that she got in the centre on the table. The kettle was plugged in, the alarm was on, the immersion was on for the bath, and the dog was locked into the shed, so the gate was open. So everything was quite normal. That was the normal way that we lived here. You know, that was usually what Mary did in the evenings when she came in. She said to me that morning that she was going to the daycare centre party. It was the last day. It was her last day at work, and she said, "Do you mind if I stay late with Francis Bleach and Francis Conroy, the two Francis she always called them?" And then when I came in that evening, I was saying, I bet you now, it was Christmas time, you see, and I was thinking she's gone out with the women now to some kind of a party or something. But as the night went on, I was awake all night. I was up all night, just looking out the window to see where she coming. No sign. So I was very annoyed, because Mary wasn't like that. Mary was very dependable, and she had a routine, and she stuck to her routine. It was just straight down the line with her. Everything was done, as it should be done with her. I still had to ring Francis Bleach, and I had to, speak to those people. So I went into work, just got into my clothes and went into work, and I left it a while, and then I rang them. But then there was nothing. Nobody knew where she was. Nobody had seen her. There was nothing. And the next thing then, we just reported it to the Gardaí, and the Gardaí came up here, and they said, she went away, and I just said it was something took her out of the house. So I was delighted then when they said the phone call was made to the house, because I knew then that Mary hadn't gone out on impulse, you know what I mean? And I was delighted then. I said to myself, somebody rang her, someone she knew and trusted rang her, because she wouldn't go out in the dark on her own. So I knew it was somebody she knew and trusted. That Friday, my sister was coming down for me. We were going to have a party here, which she always enjoyed, But, everything was happening, everything was happening for us. And Mary loved that type of thing. She loved people calling, and she loved going out, and, she was really happy. And she had everything done. She had all her Christmas presents packed. She had them all done. She had no more presents to buy. She had them all in the room. She had her bag packed to go home for Christmas. It's in there in the room. I can show it to you. Everything is in it. So if she was thinking of going anywhere, all she had to do, she hadn't even to pack. The bag is there. All she had to do was put it on her back.
Mary was seen again outside the health centre in Portlaoise town.
Well, I was coming out of the health centre on Friday, the Friday morning, the 17th, and as I got into my car and started reversing it, I saw Marie standing over in the corner of the car park. And I rolled down the window and I said, "Hello, Marie." And she said, "Hello, May," quietly.
Hello, May.
Mary was alone and didn't seem to be in the best of form. 2.5 hours later, Mary was seen again in Crazy Price's supermarket by Christine Dwyer, who also knew her well. We've no knowledge of where Mary spent the 2.5 hours between these sightings.
It was on a Friday, and I had already gone out of the shopping centre, forgotten to get something, and I came back in. I heard my name being called. I looked around, and it was Marie, and I went over to her. And she was very shaky and everything, and she was all muffled up in a scarf and coat, and she was pretty upset on that day, very nervous and shaky, her voice trembling and that. And I was going away, and she said, "Will you come with me?" I couldn't. I told her I was in a hurry, and I went and left her.
Okay, you've seen those clips. We did originally show them in our timeline, but I thought it best to include them again, so for substance and reference to refresh us. Look, Anya privately did make the point to me, and she said, "Look, Mick, it's not that Anya is doubting necessarily, particularly May White and Christine Dwyer. What she's saying is, could they be mistaken about timing? And that's perfectly reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
I initially thought in our timeline, wrongly, that May, excuse the pun, may have been a patient and was at, and I think I made reference to, well, why couldn't they check her patient report and find out what date she had that? But actually, May was working there, was leaving work that morning as she drove out of the car park and saw
and also
Marie.
on the crazy prices thing, like Marie brought shopping home with her that day, so she'd been shopping on the Thursday morning.
We believe that early just before when she left her house, we believe for voluntary work, which was started at 11, her shift at so sometime around 20 past half 10 on the December the 16th that she left, and she stopped off and did a small shop and brought those messages, as we call them in Ireland. She brought what she purchased with her into work for her voluntary work, did her and brought them home with her when the two ladies dropped her home and saw her safely in at around, I think it was quarter to 4 o'clock, just before 4 o'clock. And the bag was hung on the back of a chair, I think, in the kitchen of the house. So clearly Marie had bought stuff from the supermarket. She daily went to the supermarket. So did the point Anya is making is it's perfectly it should seem perfectly reasonable that it's possible that both women were just mistaken in later days and weeks when interviewed, that they got their dates wrong, because this was a regular thing that Marie did.
Yeah, the best way to say is that Anya's point there in no way can it be excluded. Like, it's certainly legitimate. No. Okay,
so again, back to Anya's testimony and statement to us for Radio Espial. Her words: allegedly, according to Marie's badminton friends, Marie was due to a badminton Christmas party in the Killishan Hotel on Friday the 17th, following day from disappearance. So the story about Marie looking forward to Patricia Doyle's housemate, Patricia Doyle's sister, coming to visit their house in 12 Ballad and having a bit of a hooly party that evening in the house is not true. I was told by a friend of Marie's from the badminton class that Marie was concerned about all the drinking in the house in 12 Lower Ballad, and that Pat was doing with her psychiatric nurse friends. As one badminton friend stated, the psychiatric nurses would stick together. Marie was the first to put money down for the party in the Killishan hotel, I was told by the badminton friends. Sorry, Kieran, come in there again.
I remember when we went through that bit on the timeline about Marie looking forward to Pat's sister coming on the Friday. That kind of jumped out at me. That's a bit of a strange thing to say, or like she met Pat Doyle 13 years before as her psychiatric nurse or whatever it would be. What would be her very close relationship with her sister?
Whatever it was. We're not here to judge. I think
she'd be crazy looking forward to the sister coming down or changing her plans with her friends to see Patricia
because
Doyle's
we now know, as Anya has now revealed to us, actually, and this is, sorry if I just want to say one other thing. I think wrongly we may have given a perception that Marie Kilmartin was some kind of recluse, which was very much portrayed. God,
Crime Paul did a terrible job of portraying Marie. She had a very strange walk, and
which disturbed us, I think, a bit when we watched that, and we didn't say it there in the time, but it is something that we picked up on. And actually, from what we now know, nothing could be further from the truth. Despite all you might think, Marie Kilmartin was actually, despite all the difficulties she had, despite her battle with taking medication, she actually was quite a gregarious and outgoing person. She had many friends. We've just, she had numerous friends. She'd made friends with the nurses working in the area. It wasn't difficult because so many of the neighbours, as we said, were connected with the whole medical centre and Portlaoise Hospital and St. Fintan's Hospital. So that was just her circle. And the badminton club, like I said, she loved music. She loved dancing. I think she did some. So this is it, mattress, rug embroidery or work as well. She liked to do. Marie was still quite an outgoing person and had friends. She was just a very careful person for obvious reasons from her background. Okay, let's get back to Anya again in Anya's words. And I know I'm repeating that, but I want, because people are familiar with us doing timelines, I want people to remember that this isn't something that we wrote. These are Anya's testimony and words from her perspective of the case. Anya being Marie Kilmartin's daughter. Okay. My own findings and case research. The coroner's report refers to a large, partially digested meal. A Garda told me there was digested Brussels sprouts from Marie's last meal on the 16th, December the 16th, but the current state pathologist referred to it as slop and cannot verify Marie's last meal. This is in reference to when Marie's body was found and examined. I believe Marie was murdered on the evening of December the 16th, 1993, and not the following day. And again, those exchanges regarding the fluids and deposits within Marie Kilmartin's body, the coroner's report, I've seen the documentation, I've seen the communication about it, and in reference to the later state pathologist and what he referred to it as, and that maybe it shouldn't be as heavily relied upon as the earlier person who carried out the initial autopsy, Kieran.
Yeah, Mick, I was just going to say, actually, because I usually, in these cases, I always kind of like try to focus in on where they ate or what they ate and so on. Like, so just, so she got dropped home. What time was it? It was a half 4 in the evening, wasn't it?
Just
seem,
before 4 o'clock.
Yeah, so, and it doesn't seem like she cooked food or anything at home, and it was 93, so I don't think there was many people ordering takeaways back in
No.
them days, and there's no evidence that she ordered a takeaway.
Yeah.
So
and
I think we can rule that out.
We know the phone call came to the house at some time around 4:20 to 4:30, and that's when some of the sightings started, with with literally Marie leaving the house, but with Marie seeing a short time after 4:30 in and around the vicinity of St. Fintan's, the call box, and a church not far away from there, church car park, possibly with a man.
Peter and Paul Church.
Yeah.
So just like, so back to the meal thing. So I think one of the medical people involved speculated that she'd eaten Brussels sprouts. So really, the only time you eat Brussels sprouts is at Christmas, right? That's it, basically. So
well,
I think
I
Marie,
do. Maybe other people do, and I'm not going to vouch for. But yeah, but
I've never seen them in the shops.
Yeah, but I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
So
this is a very Irish thing. So just to be clarified for our wider worldview, Brussels sprouts are quite a classic inclusion in Christmas style dinners. Not exclusively to them, but they quite are commonly linked. And listen to what Kieran is about to say.
So she attended a party in the nursing home that day, and it was a Christmas party. So you'd have to kind of guess that they would have had a Christmas dinner there, eating, like that would have been their lunch. And the fact that she worked in an old folks home, like old people in old folks home, they get their dinner at like 12 or 1. Like, sure, my grandparents did it for years. They'd eat their dinner at 12:30 in the day. So that would kind of like imply that could have been her last meal. Then maybe we were speculating that she go missing the next day on the Friday, but indicators there would point that her last meal was probably Thursday afternoon, wouldn't it, in the nursing home? When you consider if the sprouts is to be true.
On the 16th, was that possibly that food within her stomach that was examined?
And the groceries weren't unpacked, and there was no evidence that she cooked a meal at home. So
no, well, she literally, I mean, she wouldn't have had time.
No, so that's something that would be quite noteworthy, especially like if the Brussels sprouts is true.
Isn't it amazing as well, Kieran, that sometimes it's very minor details in a case that actually lead somewhere, that actually go click and you go, yeah, actually, hang on, yeah. It's sometimes that's the way in a case. Just there's very subtle details that come out, and you go, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Actually, yeah, we never thought about that. This is why
When you see
cases,
detectives taking notes of things, you think, why would they take a note of that? But you never know when it will
yeah,
circle
you
back, like
never
in
know
reference
the
to stuff, you know.
relevance of it,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so important, and that's why people say, what is there a need to go into that kind of detail? Yes, this is why there is.
Yeah.
Back to Anya's words in her testimony and statement to us. The employees of St. Vincent's Hospital all had a duty of care to Marie and failed her. They all enabled the silence and re-abuse of my mother to having Marie in a semi-conscious state, and who knows what else happened to Marie in that state. In a video, Marie, in an overdrugged state, states, I was alright until they interfered with me, and they put me in there to get me out of the way, referring to our family and St. Vincent's. I will commit suicide if I have to go back into St. Vincent's, and why won't Liam paint me well? I need to explain this a little bit, what's going on here.
Liam is Liam Halfpenny anyway, isn't it? The psychiatrist.
Yeah, the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
But I need to explain what you're seeing. You're seeing an image there. This is actually a video still, taken from, I believe it's just over 15 minutes. This is a private video still. It was taken by Pat Doyle, a woman would assume 1993, who obviously, please people consider phones, no. This was taken on obviously like a camcorder, and it portrays Marie Kilmartin in what would appear, from appearances, to be in quite a medicated state. And at times she's quiet, at times she's rambling a little bit, at times she's actually suddenly comes back and is quite coherent in what she's saying. Some of those quotes above come from those periods of it. It's a little bit difficult to hear. We had to get audio transcription done of it through software to fully hear what she's saying, because sometimes she mumbles and we're not quite clear. All I'm going to say about this, other than the obvious that this is, I cannot show this video. This is a private video, which could one day be used in a court as evidence. So I can't show it to you. I'm sorry. All I can do is describe as it is, how I've described it, and the quotes that Anya has taken from it. But I have seen it and I can verify the video exists. Kieran?
Yeah, no, it's quite chilling, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
like
It's a
so
very, very difficult video to watch.
like poor Marie, like it's just what she was put through is so sad. Like
Yeah.
it was terrible. Like I'm actually, to be honest, I'm lost for words.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, and I'm sure you were a few times gone
Yeah.
along researching this. Like,
Yeah. Okay, look. Pat Doyle, who knew in reality how reliable a source she was, told me that Marie was told to behave, like a shut up about the abuse and do what she was told, or she would be put back in St. Vincent's by both Hannafy and the Kilmartins. Such was the control they had over Marie. Yet, since Pat Doyle passed away, I have learned, this is Áine speaking, that she was only too complicit in this herself. According to Pat, Marie bought a Christmas and birthday present for me, her daughter, from 1980 to 1993, and kept them, and somehow the Kilmartins never gave me one of them. They meant so much to me, even in my 20s, and nothing could make up for not keeping them for me. Everything was hidden. Questions unanswered. So Anya asks, why was Marie's body left just over the next county border in Offaly and not in the county she lived, Laois? Who had this previous
I racked my brains with this
bog
one.
knowledge,
Yeah,
and
just
who
very
did?
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, just the one about the body being placed on the border. I racked my brains on that. To me, I don't know. I can't really kind of like decipher any significance from it, like in a country like Ireland. But I don't know. Anya, like I don't question her either. So she probably has some reason for this.
Yeah, I may be mistaken. I can't literally check it now, but when we were doing the timeline, it's close to the border, but I always I hold my hands up. I'm not. I don't have immediate. We're live here as we record. I don't have immediate access. I'll do an insert and correct it if I'm wrong. But I did think that Pym's Lane, where Marie Kilmartin's body, you saw the images in the timeline. I did think it was in Laois, but I'll check it and I'll do an insert. If I'm wrong, I'll hold my hand up and say, no, actually, yeah, it was in Offaly. But
there is some reports that say Laois Offaly border. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly know it was close to the border, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
I don't specifically know.
Actually, that's another thing. The person or persons who committed the crime, they might have thought they were over the border. Like it could be that close,
Perhaps, and maybe we're mistaken. Oh, we're mistaken, and it is over the border. I will try before we put this episode 50 out to ascertain the exact point and whether it was on the border or over either one side. But as Kieran says, I kind of concur. I'm not quite so sure of the relevance, other than whoever placed Marie's body there, the deposit area, clearly had to know the area very well. This is a tough terrain, bogland terrain. Back to Anya. Marie's neighbour stated that Marie was trying to get off her meds, and Pat recommended to her boss, Liam Hannafy, and that she needs the dose she was on, and he wouldn't lower her dose. Marie's neighbour spoke to Marie when she was very upset about this. Marie was starting to realise that Pat was not a friend at all, because one of her relations told Marie and Pat was paid to look after her. Pat herself told me that a relation had told Marie that she was not her friend, and then disputed that she got paid by the Kilmartins to look after Marie. Marie, according to our Babington friends, wanted to decrease her medication and had stopped taking her meds, and had said to one Babington friend, I snuck my coat out and she hasn't copped, I'm gone, and I haven't taken the pills in days. Pat also alleged to Marie's friend, when Marie was missing, that she was in a relationship with Marie. Pat denied she knew what lesbians do when I asked her years ago, because this was also a rumour I heard in my own family. I was told by Marie's neighbour that none of our close family, housemate and psychiatrist, didn't have motive to murder Marie. I have been told by one family member, by Pat Doyle, by a neighbour and one friend, that Marie was sexually abused. The neighbour said it was two family members who sexually abused Marie, and, quoting, what made it real for me was when Marie said she heard the creaks in the floorboards. She knew he was coming into her room. Ask yourselves why my mother developed a mental illness and had a fear of men and of the dark. There was also an allegation of a close family relative signing cheques in Marie's name, according to An Garda. This allegation was made by another family member and is on file to this day, and yet the Gardaí failed to investigate it at the time, for who knows what reason. According to a neighbour, Marie was controlled by family and psychiatrists, and the psychiatric nurse who lived with her. Marie was overdrugged and wanted to lower her dosage and move forward in her life, but she was surrounded, and, as her neighbour said to me, she wanted to be free of them, including Pat, and they imploded in on her. Them, Marie's family, her psychiatrist, and Pat Doyle. The Gardaí prime suspect needs to be vindicated because their names were ruined, and it's a disgrace. The prime suspects have one thing in common. They are working class. This further pisses me off because my dad is from a working class area, and it's unjust to set people up, and even more so when they don't have the power and money to defend themselves. Where the guilty ones have the money and the power to buy injustice. The people who murdered Marie, in my opinion, were rich. The injustice towards my mother in her childhood, adulthood and death is perpetuated by the silence of those who still blame the victim. Only recently, a badminton friend of Marie told me of a psychiatric nurse standing up for Pat Doyle, saying, "You don't know what Pat had to put up with Marie." My question is, what did Marie have to put up with Pat, the other nurses, Liam and her own family? Maybe we'll never know, but what I do know is that I will not be silenced by fear of what others may do to me like my mother was, because God is in control and he sees what is done in the dark and brings it to light. Kieran.
No, I think there's no better way to end it than Anya's words. I think, I think we've added what we wanted to say, and I think I'm not going to speak for you on this, but I think we'll come back to this, right?
I would be very surprised if we don't come back to this case again. Okay, I think we've said as much as we have. That's it. Just to conclude, previously on our episode 49 timeline, I know we did say that was it, and we weren't there wouldn't be another like a timeline or a month, and but this just came up, and it's why our impromptu episode 50 happened now before the short break we take. As always, God bless, take care.
Thanks, Mick. Well done all the work for this one. So I know you've been working 3 days probably flat out, and the rest getting this
and obviously all the work Anya did herself over many years.
No, Anya, it's incredible, and she's not going to stop either. So
no, she ain't stopping.
No. And also, she knows exactly what she's doing. Like, you wouldn't really want her chasing you down. No.
Okay.
Right, good man, Mick.
God bless. Take care. We'll see you again soon. We'll be back with a timeline, and I can definitely assure you it won't be until the end of this month and early into July. We will have features and a few small, short episodes coming up during this month. We're taking a break. Okay. Good luck. Goodbye.